And we are back, episode numero siete, nueve, nueve, 9 on the UFL newsletter podcast. We are back. Commissioner Cole Wagner, Jared Snyder is back. Jared, we have a very special team to go over today. Mr. Brandon Buckner. Jared, how you doing tonight? And this one's going to be fun, man. Here we go.
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to talk about Brandon's team. He might be the unluckiest owner in our league, so I'm ready to dive into that and see what's going on.
100%. We are talking about a guy who has had a brutal 2 years, the last 2 years in this league. He's going on year number four. And I'm gonna go ahead and retell that story because I didn't know it was actually it is a funny story. So for people that don't know, Brandon was almost a part of the original eight group in the league. And he had the number one overall pick. He was gonna do it, and then on draft night, he calls me and he says, "Dude, I got a massage. I'm not gonna be able to make it. You got to find another owner." So I'm scrambling, and I land on Andrew Stiffel, who has been in this league since then. Andrew's there, and Brandon then joins 3 years or 2 years later, and has been here ever since. So Brandon Buckner, one of my good friends, plays football at Middle Tennessee. For anybody who doesn't know, but we all are a very close group. I assume all the others know. Yeah, man, we are talking about a guy who went 6-8 last year, and we have not seen an above 500 season from Brandon since year one, which is really hard to believe because the last 2 years his roster has been stacked from what it seems, and there's been nothing to show for it. There's been absolutely nothing to show for it. Pretty sure he made the playoffs in 2023, and then this past season a 10th place finish. So Jared, going into 2025, just give me your thoughts on Brandon, man. Like, where's your head at? He's got to turn it around this year, right?
I, I think it seems like his matchups matter a lot apparently because yeah, his players, he's got two. Apparently Jalen Hurts is going to be really good this season, projected 27, but Bo Nix and Jalen Hurts, I feel like that's a great quarterback room. He should be safe every week. He can just pick whichever one he likes the matchup on.
Yeah.
Then Amon Ra is probably as safe as it gets as a receiver. You're going to get a guy that's going to get a bunch of catches every week. Maybe not as many yards, but he'll
Right.
get those slants. And then Alvin Kamara, he's a little old, but he's probably another just safe fantasy picks. He's going to get targets. He's going to get carries. He's going to get touchdowns. Like just his whole team is just pretty safe. I'd say maybe his wide receiver tight end room. That's probably the spot he might be looking to make a move or improve because that's Darnell Mooney, I don't think is probably the answer there.
Yeah, so and let's get into that. So first off, what I'm going to do this episode, which I didn't do last episode, is I know not everybody knows everybody on everybody's team. So just to go ahead and give everybody a little rundown. So looking at Brandon's roster, quarterback room is Jalen Hurts at 51 million and Bo Nix at $4 million. Running back room, Alvin Kamara, 12 million, Caleb Johnson, Ty J Spears at 1 million. And then his wide receiver room is Amon-Ra St. Brown at 30, Khalil Shakir and Darnell Mooney at 13, Rashad Bateman is at 12, Romeo Dobbs at 1, and his tight end room consists of Evan Ingram, $11 million, and Brenton Strange, $1 million. Man, let's get into the Darnell Mooney. Let's just get right into it. So Brandon going in to draft night, he told everybody in the offseason he wanted to shake things up. And he wanted to get younger, he wanted to get cheaper. I don't know if he necessarily got younger or cheaper, especially at wide receiver, but he definitely shook things up. I mean, he had the
Mhm.
seventh pick in the draft. He goes Caleb Johnson. And then we just see an absolute splash of a trade, trading away Zay Flowers and a 2026 second, or this year's second, 2025 second, to Trent for Darnell Mooney and Evan Ingram. I think it's a gutsy trade, man. He's already made three trades this entire offseason, and he made zero going into this year. This is a different Brandon, man. I don't know what your thoughts are on these trades that he's made, but he's definitely shaking things up.
I I don't love the trade with Trent, but I can understand. I feel like the value he's getting if Evan Ingram is a functioning part of the Broncos offense, I think the upside there is definitely there
Yeah.
because the stats aren't the best right there. But I feel like if when he's having a game where they're running the game through Evan Ingram, I mean, he's going to be putting up as much points as every other tight end. But Mooney, I feel like has a better chance of just disappearing on the stat sheet. So I
The
feel like the trade kind of does work out to where he's at least got options in that wide receiver tight end spot.
the thing that bothers me about this, because I've always wanted Brandon to, make trades, and like he did, and I don't know if I agree with the two trades on draft night. So the first one with myself, that makes total sense. And honestly, he proved me wrong. I thought he should have kept Ramondre Stevenson, and he said, no, I want to go into the draft with just Alvin Kamara. I thought he could have should have kept Tank Bigsby. He said, no, I want to get younger, cheaper, and better at running back. And honestly, he did. He gets Caleb Johnson at pick 7, and then who's his running back? Tyjae Spears as his RB3. So he really did a good job kind of rebuilding that running back room. But wide receiver, man. So let me just ramble here for a little bit. So the Zay Flowers deal, it is what it is. Honestly, I mean, I don't love it, but like that's just his preference. It's fine. What almost happened with the trade with Andrew was almost diabolical. And for people that don't know, on official records, Brandon traded Andrew a 2025 second or 2026 second for this year's second, pick 26. That's fine. If you want to trade a future second for a second this year, that's fine. The trade that almost happened that people aren't aware of, the deal that was agreed to and announced on draft night was Brandon was going to trade a 2026 first to Andrew for that 2025 second, pick 26, which he used that pick on Rashad Bateman, who he had last season and he could have kept. So not only did he almost trade a future first, he almost traded a future first for a second round pick this year, and that pick just so happened to be used on a player he could have had all along and kept, and Rashad Bateman. Now, if you're wondering why that now says he traded a 2026 second instead of a first, Andrew agreed to let him give him the second instead of the first because Brandon thought that everything was a first round pick. He didn't even know that picks 17 through 32 was a second round, picks 1 through 16 was a first round. He can't make that mistake again. So I don't agree with the moves he's made. I'm glad he's changing things up, but I didn't think he needed to, Jared. Like looking at his team profile, and I'm usually very like, I like to hype Buck up. I don't agree with this offseason.
Hmm.
The last 2 years, he's had league win percentages above 60%. That is unbelievable. I mean, I'm pretty sure he had the highest league win percentage in the entire UFL in 2023. And in 2024, it was another fantastic year. The problem is, whoever he played that week just happened to have their career high or whatever, an unbelievable week against Buck and beat him. I think he should have just kept the faith, trusted the process, and maybe he made moves just to make moves, but I don't know if he got better, Jared.
I 100% agree. With what you just said, with getting rid of Bigsby, I I disagree with that move. I think Bigsby's gonna probably end up getting into maybe even a Bucky Irving role with the Jaguars because it seemed like down the stretch that they were relying on Bigsby anyway, and it seemed like he was working out pretty well, and I don't think ETN seems to have anything solidified over there. The only thing that I feel like they're going to run a two-back system, and I feel like Bigsby was more in line to see some action versus Caleb Johnson is going to have to work for it to take it from Jalen Warren
Yep.
because it seems like Warren was the guy down the stretch last year, even with Najee, like because Najee was always just kind of boring. I feel like he wasn't getting the big runs. I feel like that's maybe what Caleb's going to end up being. We might be seeing just Najee 2.0.
100% agree. So, looking at Brandon, looking at career stats, he's second among all UFL owners in power score, which means if you take all of his seasons, all of his luck points per game, he's the second best owner in the UFL in advanced metrics through power score. After 5 years of this league, he's second, and he just didn't trust the process. Now, this could work. This could work, and it could be one of the best things he did was switch up the roster, get rid of Zay Flowers. And I can kind of see what he's doing at running back, but I don't know. I don't know where his head's at right now, but he definitely shook things up. So let's get into it. Quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts and Bo Nix. He's bringing back the duo, I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. We're talking about probably a top three quarterback room in this entire UFL. It may be the best quarterback room in the UFL, if I'm being 100% honest.
Hmm.
We are talking about you could start either one and still put up 120 each week if all goes
Yep.
well. So Jalen Hurts coming off a not his greatest season with the Eagles. He got a lot of points though because he got a lot of rushing touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he was QB4 last year, I want to say. So Brandon brings him back at $51 million. And then Bo Nix, out of nowhere, has a fantastic season under the Sean Payton system. And Brandon's even talked about maybe starting Nix over Hurts to go into this year. So just kind of talk to me a little bit about Hurts, Nix. Which one would you prefer over the other just to start the year off? But there's really not many bad things we can say. This is a damn good quarterback room.
I would have to say just because the Eagles just they have I think it comes from Nick Sirianni personally. I imagine when they're playing Dallas on opening week that they want to stick it to everybody again, like everybody that wanted to ban the tush push.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to come out. They're going to tush push an unbelievable amount. They're going to make sure Jalen gets 3 rushing touchdowns just so that everybody's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going to score on you. So I think week one, I think he comes out with Jalen just because of the spite that Nick carries inside of him.
I think Jalen also has a higher floor when it comes to fantasy because he's going to get
Yes.
rushing production. And I think he
And I
really,
feel like the incompletions in our league, I feel like that hurts so much. If
yeah,
Bo goes out there and has like just a bad passing game, like he's expected to pass. Jalen's like he can get 150 yards passing and he's still gonna have a productive fantasy week.
I will say this. If you go look at the new scoring, completions are out.
Oh,
Completion.
we don't have the incompletions, or do we have completions or
My bad, my bad.
incompletions?
Incompletions are out.
Oh, okay.
David was a huge proponent of getting those out, and I let him go because not because it wasn't good, but incompletions are so you never know what like
Hmm.
they just vary so much in whose fault it really is that it was just such a too big of a swing and they're out. Now, I do really urge and suggest everybody to go look at our new scoring settings, and that could be a completely different pod because a lot has changed. Like you're also no longer getting a point per reception. You're not getting a point at all for catching the ball anymore. So I suggest everybody go look at our new scoring settings because it's a huge change, but that's for a different pod, but they're better, trust me. Anyways, so yeah, Hurts, and then Knicks in that Sean Payton system, he looked really good. Like he didn't need to be, there's that like he didn't need to be anything special. He doesn't need to come out and just be this elite talent. He just needs to be a facilitator. And I thought he did a damn good job of that. And he got the ball to the guys in space. He was not exactly throwing the ball deep down the field, but you don't exactly need that out of him. He was efficient. Do you like Bo Nix moving forward?
I think specifically how his team's set up, I think if he goes into a week and he's seeing like a favorable matchup for Evan Ingram, I think those are the weeks he's playing Bo Nix. Because if he moves Ingram in and then puts Bo in, he gets the opportunity to maybe double dip on the touchdowns. Get both points for both players if he's going to throw a touchdown to Evan Ingram and somewhere in there.
And you would know because last year you attempted to try that out with Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts. But I always am a fan of the attempt at a good stack. I love a good stack. So yeah, so there's not much to talk about. The QB room is really good, and he's set up perfectly fine. Running back room, he's running it back with Alvin Kamara as his RB1. Um, Kamara's $12 million. He performed again last year. He was not an elite rusher. Ooh, voice crack. However, he gets points by receiving the football, and he still shows up in games. Like I keep expecting Kamara to fall off, and it's just not. I mean, he's fallen off from prime Kamara, but it's not really happening a whole bunch. He's still an RB1, am I right?
Yeah, no, I think he's RB1. I think if he's going to show something, this would be the year. But okay, it gets a little scary with the touchdown totals after week 6. But I feel like that's more on the Saints' inefficiency on offense. I don't know if that's a shortcoming of Kamara necessarily.
However, Jared, he's getting no touchdowns after week 6, and other than week 7, he's putting up 10, that's double digits every game.
Yeah.
With this good of a team by Buck, you may not need much more than 13, 14 points when you've got Hurts, Amon-Ra. Now we'll go to the wide receiver room here in a second. But yes, a good Kamara means a good Brandon. And I think moving forward, he runs it back with Kamara. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I will be interested to see the new Kellen Moore system and how that involves Kamara. I think there will be less involvement in the passing game. Just think
Really?
I do. Just think of Philadelphia's offense last year. How much was Saquon really involved in the passing game? I don't know. Maybe he was. I don't really remember him being a huge part of that passing game when it comes to
See,
reception.
I'm more thinking of the Chargers than the Philadelphia because I feel like it's different in Philly with what he was working with
That's fair.
versus when he was with the Chargers, I felt like there was I mean, it was frustrating to me because I remember being frustrated with his system being like, what are we doing right now? Like we were
Yeah.
doing swing passes on 3rd and 12 like every time, and I'm like, okay, that's really cute. Like that was some great motions, and we got that swing pass out, but like, what did that do for us? So I mean, taking out that catch thing. With what I'm saying, I think that might actually be a bad thing for Kamara if he's coming out of the passing game a little bit and he's just getting useless yards on useless catches. It might honestly not be a good thing for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I
I
will
mean,
say,
but touches are touches for him though, still. So
yeah.
he has opportunities at least.
And receiving yards have decreased to where you get 1 point for every 5 receiving yards instead of 10. So that was the fix when we took out the catches, getting a point per catch. You no longer get a point for a catch at all. However, you now get a point for 5 yards instead of 10. So you kind of can make those back up as long as you're actually producing when you catch the football. So yeah, Kamara's there, and then Caleb Johnson. We seem to disagree a little bit on Caleb Johnson. You seem to think of him more as a backup going into this year, and it doesn't sound like you're too high on him. I kind of see him as being a better Najee Harris, in my opinion. So I think he's going to get a massive role in that Arthur Smith offense. But we seem to
I don't doubt that he'll get the touches. I'm just more worried that it seems like Warren I mean, it's not crazy to imagine that. Out of camp at least. Warren's been taking RB1 snaps and I think the depth chart has him listed there, which I mean that doesn't count for much. But at least
Oh
I'm
yeah.
imagining that they're probably going to be running it with Warren at first.
Yeah.
And Johnson, I mean, he could come in and take it from him. I mean, it's his to take. He's younger. He's probably fresher. So, but I feel like Warren's also got that chip on his shoulder because he's always been just fighting to get touches. And he finally, I feel like last year kind of stepped into a bigger role after he came back.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So we'll see what happens with Caleb Johnson. He's a question mark. Regardless, it's definitely an upgrade to go from
Oh,
Ramondre
yeah.
Stevenson to Caleb Johnson. He saved $8 million doing so, and he's probably going to get better fantasy production. So I thought that was smart. And then Tyjae Spears, who apparently Brandon told me he did get hurt in today's preseason.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, he got carted off.
Oh, carted off.
I think, yeah, I can double check that.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if it was like, oh, just a little sprain. Yeah, lower right leg had to be carted. Yeah, that is so Brandon's probably going to be on the market here for a running back. Just thinking of some names. So Brandon has $5 million in space. If he releases Ty J's at 6 million, he can do an Austin Eckler. He could do a Kareem Hunt maybe if things go south, or he keeps it up with the rookie and he goes Dylan Sampson. He could do Tootin, whatever the hell his name is, on the Jaguars, Trey Etienne. So yeah, definitely not what you wanted to see. The
I think the
Bucks,
Dowdle move was also a slept-on one, at least from what he was showing in preseason. He looked like he was putting on a show in the receiving game to where I don't know if Chuba's got hands like that, but I remember he made a great catch against the Browns yesterday. So
yeah, yeah,
watch out for Dowdle maybe getting into that third down back role.
absolutely, absolutely. I love that. So yeah, definitely running back room who's younger, but still with a little bit of a question mark moving forward. Wide receiver room. Let's just touch on Amon-Ra St. Brown. The point per reception does go away. Now you
Hmm.
get a point per 5 yards. So I don't think I've already ran the numbers. Amon Ra in our league last year had 408 points. In this new system, he would have had 408 points. So it really he still would have had the same production. However, you
Yeah.
may see some other receivers kind of surpass him because of yardage. Do you think Amon Ra is going to have less production without Ben Johnson? Does that concern you at all?
It does because I just don't. I think the guy's name is John Morton. I think the new OC is John Morton. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I just don't know anything about him. I think he was the QB coach last year or passing game coordinator. So he was at least working with Ben tightly. So it does seem that people are saying that the philosophy is going to be a little different, where they're probably going to be running through Gibbs, less Montgomery and Gibbs alternating. It probably is going to be more Gibbs and then Montgomery for the short yardage. So I think Montgomery trends down. Gibbs probably gets more touches. And I just don't know where that leaves the passing game. I don't know if that means they're going to be more run heavy or less run heavy. But I imagine that Amon-Ra is probably still going to be getting touches. Now I just wonder if he'll be getting the same amount of yards.
Yeah.
Because I mean he definitely gets targets and catches.
Yeah, 100%. He's definitely a underneath player, and honestly, we're kind of talking about a similar archetype. Obviously, Amon-Ra is a lot better than Khalil Shakir.
Yes.
Brandon
I
has,
feel like I think that rule change could possibly hurt Brandon
yeah,
even more than anybody else with the
yeah,
players he's got right now.
that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment. And now thinking of Alvin Kamara, like with the catch,
No, Brandon actually might be the unluckiest owner in the league.
dude.
Even off the field, even just in the rules setup, we might
Yeah,
just be messing him up.
this guy cannot catch a break. He really can't. I honestly, I feel for him. He's trying, man. So yeah, that was a funny thing that we got to there. I think you're right. I think he does get hurt more than anybody. Amon-Ra is still Amon-Ra at the end of the day, and at $30 million, I think that's good value for him. Khalil Shakir, $13 million. Reports are saying that he may miss week one. But looks like today or 2 days ago, it said head coach Sean McDermott that he should be ready for the start of the regular season. So that's good news for Brandon, who is also a Bills fan. So that's good news for him. But yeah, Khalil Shakir, good player, will never be a number one, but I think he's a solid number two guy for Brandon's team. Do you have any opinion on Khalil?
I like just coming from what I know about the other receiver in that room, and I think Shakir is going to end up. I think it's kind of getting duped right now by the projections. I don't think Shakir is going to have the production that people are maybe looking at right there on the app. Like they're saying 16. He might end up getting 16 points if he gets the yards. But
Yeah.
I think Palmer is going to end up being the guy that's getting all the targets.
You
I
are
know I
you
keep
are
bringing him up.
big. You are a
Former
huge
Charger.
dude. Why don't you please for a guy who could totally pick up Josh Palmer if he wanted to. You sure seem to love Josh Palmer without you picked him up and then immediately dropped him. What is
I thought he was too much money. I thought I went over the cap when I did that.
Oh, you could do it right now. You could because you
Oh, I
got
can?
yeah, you could absolutely are you dropping Tesla? We've had this
See, I don't want to drop Tesla because it would be such a good pull if he ends up being good.
now we're getting off track. But yeah,
Okay.
anyways, big Josh Palmer guy for Mr. Snyder. Anyways, but yeah, you really like Palmer. You think he's going to take away targets from Shakir? I don't necessarily see it.
The reason why is because at least when he was on the Chargers, I swear, if there was ever a game where our receivers were down and somebody that Herbert would get the ball to and never really failed truly, he was truly a third down specialist. If he needed to get to the sticks, he was going to get to the sticks. He was never doing anything flashy. He just did his job. And I think when he's in Buffalo and Josh is out there just willing them down the field, I think he's just going to throw that football to Josh and Josh is just going to catch it.
First downs matter in this league too, so
Yeah, I'm just I might be completely wrong on Palmer. He could go
I
out there and
think
get
you are.
400 yards on the year, but
I think you're dead wrong. But hey, you're a big Josh Palmer guy. Now you give me a reason to watch Bills games. So yeah. And then obviously we spoke about the Darnell Mooney trade. So Mooney in Atlanta, he's honestly overproduced what I thought he was going to do in Atlanta. I think he's been
yeah.
a solid contributor. There's Buck right now coming in hot with some food. There he is, Brandon Buck. Come on over here, Buck.
Cameo.
Here he is. Come on. And here he is live in the flesh.
What's up, y'all boy?
Welcome.
Hey, let's just real quick, and I'll let you get to your food.
Okay.
Um, we don't exactly agree a whole lot just on, the Moody trade was fine.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts going into that?
Well, we have multiple talks. Like everybody's replaceable on my team, and the standard is the standard. And I feel like you ain't getting it done. Well, you got to go. I feel like Darnell Mooney. I feel like he's a young player. Same with the Zay Flowers was a young player, but shoot, I don't know. I feel like everything's gonna work out to my liking. So
Yeah.
just
And
gotta have faith in it.
yeah, and real quick, Buck. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sure you're aware of this. Your luck has been
it
horrible
has been.
in this. Like, we are
Man,
talking about 2 seasons of amazing teams above 60% league win percentage.
yep.
Dude, you're getting screwed on luck. Do you have any comments on that? What's going on?
I really don't. I just feel like, it just hasn't been my fair of the trade. I just need a better deck of cards going into this season, man. So I just pray that everybody stays healthy, do what they're supposed to do, and
Yeah.
then hopefully we win that cup.
Yeah, for sure. Jared, did you have any questions for Buck live on air in the flesh?
What do you think of Josh Palmer since you're a Bills fan?
Oh,
I feel like he's a consistent receiver that we need.
oh my.
There we go. See?
No,
Yep, he
no,
gets it.
no,
That we
no.
still need a dominant X receiver. I don't know if Keon Coleman's going to be that. Hopefully he does. We got Khalil Shakir, but Joshua Palmer, I feel like he's very reliable.
We were just talking about Khalil Shakir. He's on your team.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on him? Like, because I like him. Jared doesn't seem to be that high on him,
I
but
like him.
yeah, he
Yeah,
seems to
I feel
be.
like he's a playmaker.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
he can make plays.
So you're high on Shakir.
Yeah.
He is not a trade
No,
candidate going into this
no,
year.
he's not.
Okay, he said, if you had to give us just one trade candidate, just out of nowhere, if things go south, just give me one guy. Who would you maybe consider shipping at the deadline?
I tried to get Romeo Dubs out of there.
He's been one
You
Romeo.
tried to give him to
I've been
me.
wanting
I
him.
remember you texting me about Dobbs.
Oh, he's actually.
Yes, dude. Everybody was saying no, no, no. But if Kamara, maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, he's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
But sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. All right. Well, we
Okay.
appreciate you so much. Hey, and
Appreciate
good luck with the Ty J Spears injury.
Everybody's getting.
Thank you, Buck. That's awesome. So yeah, Darnell Mooney. Jared, just talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on Mooney and that Atlanta offense in general.
Well, Mooney in Chicago was, I feel like he surprised people when he was up in Chicago, and that got him to Atlanta. But I feel like I feel like it's really going to depend on what the system is. I don't think Mooney's out there making the difference necessarily.
Yeah.
I think if they have a system that's not designed to go to him, I I just don't think the touches are going to be coming naturally then.
Yeah. No, I
So I
100%.
just think the expectation it could be hit or miss. I feel like he's in a boat where he might have a week where he gets 5 points, and then he might also have a week where he gets 40 points.
That's kind of how it's always been with Darnell. I feel like it's always been hitter. I mean, look at this just right here. 6,
Yeah.
37, 0, 20. Like, so yeah, you're 100%
I
right.
It does seem like though with Kirk at the beginning of the season when Kirk was a little bit more in control of himself, that was a strong stretch right there.
That was a very strong stretch. My goodness. And if Brandon is getting that production that Mooney had from week 2 to week 10 in 2024, now that's a serious wide receiver 3. Like that's
Yeah,
that's a damn good wide receiver 3. So there's definitely a high ceiling. There is also a low floor. And I think Brandon's willing to take that risk. And if it's
it
worth it,
comes down to Penix. We got to see what Penix looks like and see if he's actually moving. For whatever he loves Pitts though, so I'm excited about that. He keeps talking about Pitts he's like I'm unleashing Pitts' potential, I think is the headline.
Jared, join us in letting Kyle Pitts go. Right?
No, no. I mean, at this point, why? What's the
Everybody
point now?
everybody in the league has picked him up at one point because everybody just wants him to succeed. And it just, anyways, that's a different story. But
Yeah, it's gonna happen this year though. Just wait for
sure. Rashad Bateman,
it.
obviously, we talk about the blunder of a trade that was to trade back into the draft, almost trade away your first round pick next year and draft a guy you could have kept all along. However, I like Bateman. I think he's got a lot of potential and he's kind of never really lived up to it. I think he's a first round pick. But
Yeah.
just give me your thoughts on Rashad. He just got extended. He's at 11, $12 million, I think. Just what's your thoughts on Bateman in general?
I feel like I feel like they play a different game. I don't feel like the Ravens receivers they should be looked at, which this might end up hurting them a little bit with the R rules. I don't know if you ran any Ravens receivers through the projections for this season, what their points would have been. Because
Yeah.
I would be curious to see if that does affect Zay Flowers' value or Bateman. Bateman, I think, falls into a similar thing. I was thinking when we were talking about Amon-Ra that I feel like Jamison Williams on the Lions will be the one benefiting from our rules. Because he's going to be he won't necessarily be getting the catches, but he'll get the yards when he does get a catch. And I
See,
think that's kind of where we're here with Bateman. He gets yards and
yes.
touchdowns.
Yes. Yes. That's what I was just about to say. Bateman is not hurt by this rule change at all, however.
Yeah.
And one stat to really look at is average yards per reception. That is going to matter a lot. Bateman gets those. So
Hmm.
if a player gets 9 catches for 80 yards, that now no longer matters. As long as Bateman gets those 3 catches for 80 yards, the yards is what matters. And he's going to get that. So he is explosive as it comes. And it just comes down to staying healthy, which he did last year, and just being in a bigger role in that Baltimore offense. I think he is what he is at this point, but I think he's a good wide receiver four. I don't know if he's worth $12 million as a wide receiver four, but Brandon can afford him and he's going to rock him again. So I just disagree with the trade. That was all.
I no, I mean definitely the trade. That's just unfortunate sequence there for him. But I think Bateman, yeah, I mean if Lamar Jackson's going to score touchdowns unless something catastrophic happens. But so I think Bateman's going to be in line for probably a similar amount of touchdowns, maybe more, depending on how many Lamar's throwing.
Yeah.
And I think the yards, it's just going to be hit or miss. Some weeks he's going to find an opening in the secondary and get a big catch.
Mhm.
And it's just, I think that's probably what he is. I think when he needs that week where he's projected to lose and he's like, Mooney's not going to be enough, that's where Bateman, I think, can come in and maybe play a week. And you're like, I need that big game from Bateman. I need 2 touchdown catches and 80 yards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then moving on to, and by the way, Bateman was drafted 154 overall last year. So the fact that he's still on Brandon's roster is pretty cool. Romeo Dobbs, who was drafted 100 picks less than Rashad Bateman in 2024, is still on Buck's roster. He was expected to take such a big jump in 2024, and it didn't happen. He had 46 catches for 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. I really thought Romeo Dobbs was going to be a top 15 wide receiver in this league, top 20, and it just never panned out. Is there still a shot where Dobbs can be that guy in Green Bay, or is he just is what he is?
I don't want to say like he's out, but I feel like it comes down to Jordan Love, like how Jordan Love plays the game. I consider Jordan Love like one of the last like true gunslingers. I feel like Jordan Love is the only guy out there right now that will walk up and just rip that thing. He does not care. He's like, my guy, I'm gonna put this ball in a good spot for you. Go make a play. The
Yep.
amount of catches that I'd see Jaden Reed, even Dobbs, or any of those guys, and it's there's 3 defenders around it, but Jordan puts it in such a weird spot that only the receiver gets it. And then you're sitting there like, that's a great play, but it probably shouldn't have been, but it's like one of those Brett Favre things, like where he's
Yeah.
just ripping it because he can. And I feel like the receivers kind of suffer as a result because you're like, I don't know who Jordan's going to be feeling that day.
Speaking of that, I'm not allowed to sports bet anymore with my new internship. However, if I could, Jordan Love for MVP is a wild play that I made would just throw money on, just from the standpoint of he's not afraid to rip it. And if everything were to go right, we're talking about a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns in that offense. So that would be definitely a good play. But yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that Dobbs never panned out. I mean, he's still relatively young. He still could. Um,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I just don't know if he'll.
I think Josh Jacobs and just like the LaFleur system, like it doesn't seem like there's too many people in the mix, and Golden's probably going to be taking the deep spots. So like Dobbs is going to have to make his money as possession guy catching first downs, which our league that's not going to make you a starter in many teams.
Yeah. I will say, as a wide receiver five at $1 million, that's a
Oh,
damn.
I know. I mean, absolutely great,
Yeah.
good pickup still. Good
Yeah,
still pickup.
absolutely. Looking at tight end, he goes from Mark Andrews and Pat Fryermuth last year, and he gets younger for sure, just like he said he would. He goes from Mark Andrews to Evan Ingram, that saves him $3 million, and then he goes from Pat Fryermuth to Brenton Strange, that saved him $11 million. So he got cheaper and younger at tight end. Give me your thoughts. I know you talked a little bit about Evan Ingram, but just on this room in general, Brenton Strange. I actually like the transition from Andrews and
I,
Fryermuth to Ingram and Strange. Why not?
I agree. I think. Well, I don't remember if Likely's still hurt in Baltimore, so I can't 100. I think Likely was hurt, so I think
He is.
Andrews would
He
be
is.
still the guy.
Even if he comes back for week one, he's not going to be 100% until about week six, I think.
Okay. Okay. So the logic I'm thinking there is he moved on. He gets Ingram cheaper. He's going to be tight end one. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jacksonville's tight end room looks like. I'm assuming Strange is probably the one guy. I don't know if they have somebody else that's taking targets from him. But I think that's the best way to play the tight end game. Get a tight end that's the guy. Don't mess around with a team that's got 3 guys that are going to be taking targets from one another. Get one guy. He's the guy that's catching passes.
Yeah.
you get two guys like that, you're good week to week because not every week a tight end's gonna be Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
That's unrealistic.
And fun, ironically enough, Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange were in the same tight end room last year in Jacksonville.
Well,
So
yeah.
so now Strange does take that number one job, and Ingram has moved on to Denver. So I don't mind it at all. But overall, now just looking at 2025, I still see Brandon as a playoff team. I'm not ready to give up on this hope of him making the playoffs. I don't think he's a top three, top five team. Like I thought he may have been maybe going into the offseason, but I do still think he's a fringe playoff team. I think he may make the 6 or the 7 seed. I see him finishing with a 7-7, 8-6, maybe even 9-5 record. Are you kind of seeing the same thing?
I could see it going. I could see it going well for him if the receivers like if Shakir steps up and he's the guy and he's getting like Diggs level production for them, then absolutely he's moving into like the next tier of like teams because he's going to be getting probably 10 more points a week than
Right.
his projection's saying.
Right.
And if Johnson ends up being the guy, like his guys, they can go two ways. Shakir can either stay at 16 or he can go way up.
Mhm.
Johnson can go way down if he loses out in that battle.
Mhm.
Mooney could be non-existent if Penix and him don't click. So his team could end up having to be a completely new team by the end of the season, or his team might be the best team in the league.
Yeah.
So
100.
we're just gonna have to wait and see what ends up happening in those offenses and see if those guys step up.
Yep, 100%. I will say, while Shakir and Mooney are a little bit banged up, just kind of going ahead and glancing at the schedule for the first time, it's looking like two out of those first four games, two are against playoff teams, two are against non-playoff teams. I think Taleb's a really nice week one matchup to have. I'm really low on Taleb going into this year. I don't like his team at all. DJ, I think, is trending downwards. David's always tough. Cole Ryan's actually gonna be pretty tough. Then he gets a little bit of a interesting stretch here with Andrew. Interested to see what you look like this year. Cole Pletcher should be a win. Really, his toughest. He really doesn't have a tough stretch. I mean, obviously, everybody plays everybody. He does not play Evan this year, but he doesn't go through a gauntlet like we saw Andrew with his first 7 games. It seems like it's a lot of playoff caliber teams and then non-playoff caliber. There's not a big stretch of one thing. So I think the schedule is pretty light, just in terms of stretches, and I think he makes the playoffs. But if not, I mean, I don't think we see a horrible team. But if they do go south, I do think we do see a fire sale because it's a lot of guys that people would be interested in trading for if it was a playoff run. Alvin Kamara, older, I could see him shipping him at the deadline if things go south. Shakir, Mooney, maybe even flipping. Like he's got a lot of veterans, Bateman, Ingram. So I think it does go well, but if it doesn't, we could see a lot more splashes midseason.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure on that. I think he definitely maybe should be looking to possibly trade for a receiver, though. Somebody he can be a little bit more comfortable with. If he is worried about those guys not working out, he can maybe flip two of them for somebody he knows will be the guy.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, that is the team preview 2025. Brandon Buckner, a lot of luck has not gone his way. It's been 2, 3 years since he had a lucky season. He's hoping to get a little bit more luck on his side. It's an interesting team. It is a mix of youth and veterans. It's a mix of highs and lows, ceilings and floors. And at the end of the day, the X factor to me is going to be probably wide receiver, the position of wide receiver, and then obviously if Jalen Hurts can remain healthy and be Jalen Hurts, but yeah, I think it's a good team, and that's the preview for 2025. Brandon Buckner, did you have anything else you wanted to add, Jared?
I guess I'll pick an X factor too, since you did that.
Yeah, why not?
Honestly, I think Ingram. I think if Ingram steps up to a real tight end role for the Broncos offense, I think he moves into that wide receiver tight end spot, and he can feel even safer than having Mooney in there.
Yeah, Brandon, 14 regular season games in our league. Give me a record prediction for your boys this year. All right, he says 14-0, ladies and gentlemen. There
Okay,
he
okay.
goes. Brandon Shakur Buckner. Thank you. There we go. Another episode in the books. Bryson Allman. Bryson Allman is next. Lots to look forward to there. Jared, thanks for another podcast, man. That was excellent.
Nope, pleasure always.